Founded in 1929, the Jewish Agency predated the modern state of Israel by 19 years. Some say it's an organization created by God, using men to fulfill His purposes. Today, one of the main missions of the Jewish Agency is still to bring the Jewish people back to the land. And seeing Jewish people return is like watching Bible prophecy unfold. Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel all speak of the Jewish return to the land. Jewish Agency Chairman Natan Sharansky told new immigrants they had fulfilled the dream of generations.
Only think for a moment, each of you, about your fathers, your grandfathers, your great-grandfathers, all those generations of your families, of Jews who were dreaming and praying next year in Jerusalem. And you did it.
The Jewish Agency's mission? Inspire Jews worldwide to connect with their people, heritage, and homeland, and empower them to build a Jewish future and strong Israel. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, Jewish Agency CEO Alan Hoffman joins us now, and it's an honor to have you with us.
It's an honor to be here, particularly the week before Israel's 70th anniversary.
The big anniversary.
Right.
You've seen a lot of that anniversary. As I understand it, you made Aliyah back in 1967, right before the Six-Day War. You volunteered in the war.
Right. I came to Israel as a volunteer just before the Six-Day War, and we didn't know it was going to be a Six-Day War when I got on the plane, but I've been in Israel ever since.
What caused you to do that? Because at that point in time, I think people living today don't understand, in the lead up to the Six-Day War, the sentiment in Israel is we are going to lose, we are going to be wiped out, but yet you volunteered, you came. Why?
I think it's a combination of a couple of reasons. The first being that I grew up in a religious family. The connection to Zion and the connection to Israel, the modern state of Israel, and the biblical prophecy was part of my education, and it was always there. As I got older, I also became very involved in a youth organization, Zionist youth organization that was connected with Israel. And just before the Six-Day War, after Israel's independence of 1967, the entire army was called up and was kept in a condition of alert for about 2 months before the war broke out. And so on the kibbutzim and the farms and the moshavim and throughout the country, there were no farmers left. And so a call went out to young Jews around the world to volunteer and come and to help. In my case, it was to weed the cotton in the Chula Valley all the way up in the Galilee of Israel. And so I went, and I was privileged to be in Israel for those 7 days and to see that amazing 6 days of the war and to see that amazing victory. And I've been in Israel ever since.
You've had quite a journey from weed picker to the CEO of the Jewish Agency. That's quite a career arc.
I'm not sure it's not the same thing.
That's a good point. Well, let's look at today and what's happening today. I'm hearing that Aliyah is on the rise because anti-Semitism is on the rise in Europe. And somewhat unlikely source country, France, is now one of the leading countries, if you will, for Jews saying we need to leave here and go to Israel. Are you concerned about that?
We're definitely concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism. One of its byproducts is Aliyah, Jews making a decision to leave the host countries. But I think that fundamentally, in Western countries, Western democratic countries, for Jews to feel unsafe is a huge problem and a huge issue. So on the one hand, we're still seeing about 7,000 or 8,000 Jews a year coming from the former Soviet Union, Russia, and the Ukraine. And there essentially young people have given up on Mr. Putin and the promise of the economy and of democracy. But in places like Hungary or places like France, and even in Britain, young Jews are worried about anti-Semitism, some of it Islamic fundamentalist anti-Semitism.
Do you think it's primarily because of Islamic immigration into Europe? Or is there also another force where there seems to be a rise of nationalism and in times past in Europe that has led to fascism? And so is that a concern as well?
I think the two things are connected. I think that we're living in a period in which political parties in Europe that look at this huge wave of immigration that's taking place across the world veer towards the xenophobic and the nationalist. And so in each of these countries, you see a rise of particularly the xenophobic nationalist parties, and some of them, I would say almost in all cases, they has got a tinge of anti-Semitism in it. In some places, the tinge is not a tinge, it's a strong color. And so you see a situation where French Jews who may have left, let's say, Algeria, together with Muslims with whom they had lived for hundreds of years, they come to France, many of them settle in the same neighborhoods, cheek by jowl, but then the Muslim imams become radicalized, and so instead of living very comfortably, as Jews have done together with Muslims for a long time, you begin to see discomfort, and the rabbis in France making decisions the Jews should put their head coverings in their pockets. That's quite a story for 200 years after the French Revolution.
Yes, it is quite a story. And it's, you can say the good news is it's leading to Aliyah, but at the same time, you have to be very fearful of the future. Let's turn to Israel now, and specifically peace with the Palestinians. Do you have any hope that there could be peace?
I'm a glass half full person, so I have lots of hope. But I don't see peace around the corner. I think that it's very important not to give up on the idea of a two-state solution. I think Israel was created to be a Jewish state, and in order for Israel to have a state that has a maximum Jewish population, one has to believe that eventually some kind of formula will be found by which Palestinians will be able to achieve statehood, and that there will be responsible Palestinian leadership who will know how to lead the Palestinian people into statehood. I think it's in Palestinians' interest, and I think that it's in Jews' interest, but it's not around the corner.
No, you don't see it at all on the Palestinian side.
Right.
The contrast can be clearer when you look at the nation building the Jews did in the 30s and the 40s, and then obviously after independence. But you don't see any of that on the Palestinian side.
The danger is that Palestinians and Jews give up on the idea of a two-state solution. And if you go down the logic of a one-state solution, ultimately, either you're going to have to give up on a Jewish state or you're going to have to give up on democracy. And I think that at its peril, Israel cannot consider giving up on those two ideas of being both a Jewish state and a democratic state.
I couldn't agree more. I think we need to absolutely pray for unusual wisdom in Israel today. That there are no easy answers here.
Right.
And how do you move forward?
Right.
Well, they're wrapping up. We could talk for a long time, but thanks for being with us, and thanks for all you've done for the state of Israel.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I do think that on the 70th anniversary of the State of Israel, it's very important to say that the support not only of Jews around the world, but of Christians around the world for the State of Israel, for moving the embassy to Jerusalem, and for peace for Israel and for the world is very, very important.
Thank you.